de Mars Arena in France's capital city for the climax of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. It's a gold medal match between Japan and the United States of America. Japan head here undefeated. The United States have tasted defeat just once. To guess who they face in the most important match of them all. Pierre-Alexandre Brière and Liam Costello are honoured with the roles of referees for what is such a keenly anticipated gold medal match. We've been treated to thrillers throughout the competition, no less so in the semi-finals. Japan arriving at the final by virtue of overtime, whilst the USA were more comfortable against Great Britain. Earlier today, Australia claimed bronze against Great Britain. Anxious eyes, but full hearts and two sets of fans full of belief, willing their nations on to gold. And here come Japan, led by Ike Yukinobu. Their first ever bow in a gold medal match at a Paralympic Games in wheelchair rugby. They were, and Ike was, by his own admission, disconsolate when they went out at the semi-final stage at their home games 3 years ago. He felt that destiny was with Japan, and once that destiny was dashed, would it ever be the same again? But they have returned to the grand stage. They've returned to Paris, reignited and with fresh belief that they can claim gold. Whatever happens here today, this Japanese side are history makers. Ogawa Hitochi, the penultimate player to head out, and he is followed by one of the rising stars of the game, Hashimoto Katsuya, just 22 years old, a high point player who is following in the fated footsteps of the likes of Ikazaki, Ike and Shimekawa. Kishi Kotaro, his first Paralympics in charge since succeeding the great Kevin Orr, and he is yet to taste defeat. It has been consummate, albeit nail-biting in the semi-final for Japan against Australia. But one last hurdle is ahead of them, and it is the United States of America. Here comes the second Chuck Melton. After Chuck Aoki, the captain, leads them out. Chuck and Chuck have combined for some magic moments as they're joined by Eric Newby also, and Sarah Adam has quite simply been a revelation. She is arguably the most impactful player to take to the court for any side. The balance, the poise that she has brought in a maiden Paralympics has been remarkable. And for the USA, they have returned to a final supercharged, ready to banish the ghosts of Tokyo and those two of Rio before. The USA, for all of their history, for all of their dominance in the sport, have not claimed a gold since Beijing in 2008. Chuck Aoki is quite simply the talisman. He'll be linking up with Josh Wheeler, and Jeff Butler will be providing the defensive foil to allow the triumvirate of those two and Adam to flourish. Joe Delagrave, the coach, won silver in Tokyo. Can he lead from the touchline the United States to one better, the gold they oh so crave?
si vous le pouvez, merci de rester debout pour l'hymne national des États-Unis.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of the United States of America.
An emotional moment for both sets of players and the fans that are packed in the Champ de Mars arena for the gold medal match of Paris 2024 between Japan and the USA. I am Joe Burns, and alongside me for this grand occasion is Drew Lilly.
Couldn't be better, could it? It really couldn't be better. Japan, who have really swept all before them over the last year or so. And here they are with their opening lineup of Ikezaki and Ike, the two three-pointers. And then they're going to go for Kusaba and Okawa. Okawa, one-pointer, one of the best one-pointers in the world. He was best in class at the Canada Cup. United States of America going with their balanced lineup: Chuck Aoki, Sarah Adam, Josh Wheeler, and Jeff Butler in there. Sarah Adam, you mentioned her earlier, such an impactful player. 2.5 points, allows them to play 8.5 out there. Means they can have a really balanced lineup. They can have three ball handlers out there. She's one of the best 2.5s in the world anyway, and the fact that she allows them to play an extra 0.5, worth a weight in gold. Be interesting to see how the two teams use their benches. Say USA runners-up twice, the last two Paralympics. Japan, this is their best performance ever at a Paralympics, whatever happens here, but they're the ones came in as favourites, having won the Canada Cup, been doing so well. They went through qualifying directly, defeating Australia. Couldn't be a better final.
The Paris 2024 Paralympic wheelchair rugby final has commenced. It is Japan in white taking on the United States of America in blue for the Champ de Mars arena in the 7th arrondissement. And it is the USA scoring through their main man, Chuck Aoki, getting on the board early with the first possession from the tip.
The most impressive part was Josh Wheeler winning the tip ahead of Ike, who is surely the tallest player on court at these Paralympics for wheelchair rugby. Managed to outreach Ike, so that's quite an achievement.
Ike Yukinobu, the captain, sits very high in his chair. You can see him there wheeling around in 21, giving Chuck Aoki a little bit of extra attention. But he gets taken out by Jeff Butler, who is so adept at doing the dirty work to free up the space for Aoki. And then you're seeing the passing game of the States there. Aoki to Wheeler, and Adam, the other midpoint player in there, who adds so much value. Well, Ikezaki took his eye off the ball there, and it got swiped by Chuck Aoki.
It's fortunate for Japan, it's not going to be a turnover. Aoki gets in there, he's the one who knocks it out. So Japan retained possession, but it doesn't reset the shot clock. But look at that, Statue of Liberty there, Ike.
It's such a gift that he has, not only the height, but also the ability to control the ball one-handed and manipulate it so comfortably. It is a true weapon for inbounds and ordinarily the tip. But Japan have got themselves bogged down in the key a little bit here before it opens up for Ikazaki. He looked to be in the quicksand, didn't he? But then it just opened up behind him.
2.4 seconds left on the shot clock. It was incredibly close there. Didn't panic though.
Immensely experienced side out there, Japan. There's only one Paralympic debutant among them, but it isn't all about experience. You can come to your first games like this woman here. You can be the first ever female wheelchair rugby Paralympian for your nation, and you can have the most extraordinary impact on matches.
Sarah Adam only made her international debut in 2021, and there is the turnover that they threatened about a minute ago. Aoki picks the pocket and 2 points clear.
Ikazaki to Ike, that's usually a solid foundation. But we just know how revved up Chuck Aoki has been his entire time here in Paris. He's been fueling himself with the narrative of 16 years of gold medal drought. And when he scored the final try against GB in the semi-final, and the buzzer sounded, he was shouting, one more, one more. He won't stop until it's gold.
Adam there with the inbound. The advantage of having such a balanced lineup is that even when you've got a mid-pointer inbounding, there are two other players who are mid or high pointers who are still there with the function to be able to receive the ball and move it up the court.
I think you saw it in all its glory there as well. Look at the reach and the reel in from Adam. You know, she's moving in one direction, arching back, but still able to grasp that ball from Aoki. Ike, nice and simple for the captain. He's played with a smile on his face throughout this competition, and well, it was him who dug them out of that semi-final ditch against Australia in the dying seconds, and then he got the crucial turnover in overtime to carry them to this famous final, this first ever final in their history. Ikazaki arrives, and it's a hurried ball, but Wheeler reads the mind of Aoki.
Aoki did brilliantly well there to avoid the sideline. You often say that the sideline is the fifth defender, and he must have been about an inch inside it there. If you put so much as a caster outside, then it's a turnover. He's reached in again and got another one. I think it's going to go the way of Japan. It does, but that's 3 times now. 1 for an actual turnover, 2 where the ball has been stripped, and Japan maintain possession, but it doesn't reset the shot clock. So very much up and about the Americans to start off this gold medal match.
His 4th Paralympics, Chuck Aoki.
Reaching foul has been given. And a penalty try. I think it was Wheeler that reached in there.
Mishandled by Aoki.
It's a gold medal match. There's nerves on both sides here.
Adam gets herself into position, gets greeted by Hashimoto, who's got a bit more pace and mobility, but that has not fazed Sarah Adam. We saw it in all its devastating glory in the semi-final as she upended the likes of Stu Robinson, of Aaron Phipps, left the big men of GB on their backs. But they're showing a little bit more guile as she aided USA to another try. Here goes Zike.
fact that Sarah Adam plays means you can play Josh Wheeler as well. It's tough on the likes of Eric Newby, who's had very little court time, and then even Chuck Melton, we haven't seen a whole lot of him. But the fact that Adam is playing enables you to play an extra 0.5. It means Wheeler can be out there, and that is such a benefit for Team USA.
But how good, though, for the USA to have the likes of Newby and Melton to deploy. Think of some of the big plays that Melton's been involved in when he's come up. That out of this world take and offload from Aoki to Melton on the buzzer in their early match against Japan, in fact, as a buzzer beater. Those are the kind of impacts that those guys can have.
Now, change for Japan. Hashimoto has come out, the youngster, just in his early 20s. He's the one who's a 3.5 pointer. Norimatsu is out there as well. And Kurahashi Kae is there. So Japan doing what USA are doing. They have a very good female player in Kurahashi, and she's out there, and it enables them to play 3-5-3-1-5.5. So both teams 8.5 points out there.
Look at the mastery of Ike up top. And Hashimoto, who went to Tokyo, well, didn't really get to feature, did he, as a young man, but now 22 years old, growing minute by minute into the main man for Japan. One of the most exciting things about this Paralympics as a whole is the emergence of some of the young stars, and Butler, Adam is just one of them. Wheeler, one-wheeled Wheeler, finding the pass.
I think he needed one wheel there. He was close. There we go. Yes, and that wheel almost went over the sideline. There's something about his wheels that they seem to come off, or he puts himself in a position to have his wheels knocked off. Puts himself on the line. Doesn't shy away from contact.
Well, the scoring is pretty free so far for both sides, and it emphasises really where the nub of the match is, and Ike almost getting in there. Aoki retrieves the loose ball.
It's twice that inbounds have just about got to Chuck Aoki, not quite, and he's managed to reel them in. But Japan really are knocking on the door here.
It's interesting because they had absolutely no worries against GB, did they, in the semi-final? The inbounds were so easy for them because they've got the three ball players of Adam, Aoki and Wheeler, but the presence of these Japanese players clearly causing a few extra issues.
I think that the fact that Japan have got Norimatsu out there, the number 22 with the shaven head, that's changed things around a little bit for them. Rather than the two one-pointers, they've got a 1.5 and a 0.5 in Kurahashi. But Norimatsu, you can see him there getting so close to Sarah Adam. Aoki's going to struggle to get it over the halfway line. They do, just as the shot clock hits 28. You have 12 seconds to get it over the halfway line, and USA just about fulfill their contract there.
Unbelievable composure there, wasn't it? The time ticking away. Adam arrives on the shoulder. She ships it to Wheeler. It is so fluid and unflustered from the USA. They've grown as the competition's gone on. This is a sharper USA than the one that Japan beat in the pool stage.
You've got 6 absolutely outstanding teams, plus 2 very good ones in Denmark and Germany, who every right to be here as well. But any one of the top 6 could have finished on the podium, anywhere on the podium. And it's not necessarily about going through unbeaten. It's about making it to the semis and then peaking from the semis and the final. And USA certainly, I don't know if it was their peak in the semi, but they certainly hit the heights against Team GB.
Well, look, if they're drawing on past and superstition and experience, they only need to look to Tokyo, where they defeated Great Britain in the group stage, and then they met them in the final and ended up with silver.
playing teams twice in the space of 4 or 5 days, you learn from your mistakes. You don't necessarily set up in a key defense if you know that the opposition picked you apart that time. You run different plays. You use different lines. It's always a learning experience. Is he a Fukuoka Dandelion, do you think?
That would be a lovely touch, wouldn't it? One of the clubs in Japan where many of the players hail from.
Norimatsu, the number 22, the 1.5 pointer. He's a Fukuoka Dandelion. Wheeler trying to make room and then ends up, it's a game of pass the parcel. It's put in his lap and he rolls over the line.
Well, it was rather put in his lap and then forced into him to give him a bit more impetus as well to make it across the try line. But we're into the final minute here, and something I haven't really touched on is the importance of being the last team to score before the end of the period. So you'll see some clock management now, and USA are in a good spot. They're in a really good spot because Butler's coming in interjected there, and it's come off Ike. A turnover right at the death. A huge moment from Butler.
And Adam wants to go for it and lets it go out of play cleverly. So you can see the shot clock's 35, the match clock's 37. So what USA want to do is keep the ball for as long as they can and either score with around 2 seconds to go on the match clock, or maybe take a floor timeout. Each team has 4 timeouts that players can take, and those reset the shot clock. And it may well be, no, Aoki's just going to go over, score as late as he can. He's going to put the brakes on. They're trying to push him over to make him score and leave more time. 5.6 seconds for Japan to score. Norimatsu will inbound, and once it's touched, then the clock starts.
Off goes Hashimoto, arguably Japan's fastest, most devastating runner. That's too much, even for Ike. It was hurried, it was flustered, and that is the perfect period to kick off this gold medal match for Team USA. They lead Japan 14 tries to 11 with 1 period gone.
It was quick-fire stuff. Absolutely raced through that first quarter. Hardly any stoppages. And nevertheless, there was a turnover more at the end. There were balls that were almost lost. Almost a couple of turnovers committed by Japan.
Well, you see there, so there's 1 steal for the USA and 1 turnover against Japan. I don't know about, and obviously 3 tries to deficit. I don't know about you, but I haven't come away from that period thinking, oh, USA are 3 tries better there, because there were plenty of nibbles for Japan, namely Ike on those inbounds, but they're the ones who haven't converted, and that little spoil at the end from Butler has really changed the complexion, I think.
Yes, the last minute or so really turned things around. It could have been a 1-try deficit. Obviously, there was the early turnover, but if Japan had managed to maintain possession and also get the final score of the quarter, then they would have been going into the second quarter with possession and only 1 point behind, so they could have leveled things up. And as it is, somehow it's a 3-try deficit.
That will be reduced to 2, as he said, Drew, that they got the possession from the beginning of the second period, and they'll have the possession at the start of the 4th, should everything remain as it is.
Going to have some changes in the lineup for Japan. Hasegawa is coming out as a low pointer. Ikizaki back on with Ike and Norimatsu, so 3-3, 1.5, 0.5. USA staying as they were to begin with.
This style of making the crowd freeze halfway through a song is new to me, Drew, but it is hitting all the right notes here at the Champ de Mars.
Well, quite telling the Fukuoka Dandelion fans to freeze.
And a Brave Blossom jersey in there as well, the Japan National Rugby Union jersey. And a big Chuck Melton fan too. Second period about to commence. Japan trailing the United States of America 11-14 in the gold medal match of Paris 2024.
USA haven't made any changes, so they've still got 3-2-5, 2-5, 0.5. Sarah Adam still out there. I can see Sarah Adam playing a lot of this match.
Ikazaki, a far older, wiser, but no less dynamic heads on the shoulders for Japan. Hashimoto taking a break. And that's good pressure from Japan. They pressed high. Aoki couldn't find a way out. And with time ticking down, he knew he wouldn't be able to get across the center line within 12 seconds. So he burns a timeout. USA will keep possession, but that's a mini win for Japan.
The only downside of having Adam take the inbounds is that it takes 2.5 points off the court. So that still leaves 6 on the court. But if she gives it to Aoki, very close to her, then that's 5.5 points that are really bunched up together. And if Japan have a really strong high press, then they've got a long way to go, USA, to get it over the halfway line. Also, the timeout means you have to take a corner inbound, which is always awkward. And again, look at them hemmed in, but Sarah Adam, always the outlet.
What a take from Josh Wheeler. That was extreme pressure that he was under, and you have to applaud Butler as well for finding him. I mean, 2 bits of execution from the United States there when Japan was swarming all over them.
Two low pointers of locking one another. I think they're actually locked on their pick bars. So Butler has elected to inbound this one so he could loosen himself from the pick bar of Hasegawa. So providing he can do a good inbound, and look at that for an inbound from a 0.5 pointer. That's incredible. That is the high pointers are the ones with the stronger core and trunk function. And there we have a turnover.
The pressure pays for Japan.
It was coming.
Yeah, that high press rewarded. Ike onto it, ships it to Ikazaki, and back to the man who snaffled that loose ball. But Norimatsu and Ikazaki arguably should receive the bouquets there. Team effort, though.
It shouldn't have happened because it was a great inbound from a 0.5 pointer. So there was 8 points on the court. And if they can't get it over the halfway line, then, well, let's just say it was testament to the high press that Japan is putting them under.
Norimatsu, so often regarded as probably the best 1.5er in the world, and Ike, simply one of the best to ever do it. It goes to Ikazaki, to Norimatsu, I beg your pardon. And he gets himself on the scoreboard.
Well, it was a 3-point deficit at the first break, and then within a minute and 3/4, it's down to 1 point. Obviously, USA still with possession, but with possession and also with nerves.
Well, this was the period that they essentially won the semi-final against Great Britain yesterday. Turnover after turnover after turnover. I think it was back to back to back, wasn't it? And it just dragged the match away from them. So Japan have done well to not fall into that trap, and if anything, they're capitalizing on this purple patch that they're experiencing. And this man is all class. He was MVP when Japan won gold at the Worlds in Sydney back in 2018, and his gifts have far from diminished. Norimatsu just turning away and Adam escaping the pick bars.
Great block as well from Aoki to make sure she could get through. So it's a New England play that they're going to come up with there. You could see the USA entourage there, the coaching staff holding up a board with Patriot on it. They've got certain set plays. Boston's one of them.
Is there a Yankee one as well?
There's a Magic one.
Ikazaki, the man from the Blitz.
Now, we've got players set up in the substitute boxes that you can see either side of the scorer's table, so they are ready to come on next time there is a dead ball. So either when there's a turnover or if a timeout is called. You have to be in those substitute boxes to come on. You can have substitutions rolling off and on regularly. Once you've come off, you can still come back on, but you have to be ready to come on and poised in the substitution box.
Well, the substitution of Ikazaki onto the court by Kishi has proven to be a masterstroke so far, because Japan looks so composed. They've got these turnovers as well. They're back to within a score, although there's no obvious way through. Ikazaki just fizzes it into Norimatsu. He slips it into reverse, and it's another nicely worked try. Oh, incoming.
The fact that Japan have got 2 3-pointers who are so good. Now, if Adam keeps going in a straight, more or less straight line to the try line, she's allowed to continue, even if an opponent's down. It was a fair hit, and as long as you then keep going to the try line, it's almost as if she looked around to the referee and said, can I keep going? And Liam Costello, the Aussie ref, said, yes, you certainly can. So this is a stoppage in play because one of the players has to be lifted back up, and that enables substitutions to be made.
And Japan have done so. Ikazaki's last contribution for Hashimoto to come back on. A very, very valuable contribution at that. Oh, Hashimoto has seen the ball dislodged. And I think that is going to be USA ball, is it? No, it's not. Norimatsu is into it. That is a tight call.
Yes, but it doesn't reset the shot clock because USA were never in possession, even though it was, I think, Lee Fredette who rolled it out. Lee Fredette, who has come on, and Mason Simons as well. So Wheeler and Butler have gone off, but they're still playing 3-2-5-2-1, so they've still got 8.5 points out there. 3 seconds to go on the shot clock there.
Well, Lee Fredette is one of the many Americans out there who are inspired to take up the sport after watching the seminal documentary Murder Ball.
Is that going to be an over and back? It is. So Simons had the ball more or less in his possession, but his chair was half over the line, and then he got knocked. A big hit there. Well, he lost the ball anyway. So either way, it's a turnover, and Japan are going to level this tie.
Fantastic period for Japan so far. Ike tempts Aoki, and now the key defense in full view from the USA. Simon's in position, needs a hand from Kurahashi here, who goes out to interfere with Aoki. Shot clock ticking down. Hashimoto clips the post on his way through, and it is no try awarded. USA have staved off the turnover attack from Japan. Outstanding defense from the USA.
No score and a turnover. So it doesn't start behind the try line, it starts from a corner inbound. That's the only disadvantage. It's an awkward one, but it's a good inbound anyway. So one turnover brings another. USA still with their noses in front, and the opportunity now to get that 2-point lead back. That needed backspin on it, and it didn't have any. 3 turnovers in a row.
You spoke about the nerves, Drew. How often do you see 3 turnovers exchanged in so few seconds from such quality athletes? And a penalty is drawn there from Mason Simons, a little over-eager to get his clutches on the ball, and you can't make contact with the man.
Simons there, he's the one who lost the ball for the original turnover. He's the one who didn't get the ball for the 3rd turnover, and he's obviously snatching at things a little bit. He's desperate to make amends, and the finest of margins are going to decide this match.
So Hashimoto has scored there, and he took a bit of time so that Ike could go across and block Simons' route from the penalty box. It means Simons has had to nominate himself for the inbound, which isn't the optimal way that the USA like to do so, but that's a lovely ball to Wheeler, who gets clipped by Norimatsu, who's working incredibly hard out there. He's been really effectual.
We'll call it a lovely ball to Wheeler. Wheeler made it a lovely ball. It was far too close to the sideline there, and Wheeler managed to keep both wheels inside. Simons needs to calm down.
It's stretching Wheeler to bring out his very best.
Sheer height of Ike works there.
Yeah, high looping ball made it nice and easy for Hashimoto, who lets his wheels do the rest.
He's the fastest player out on court, and he's showing it. 21 apiece with 2 minutes and 5 seconds to go. An equipment timeout for one of the players. They're calling the Boston play this time around, the USA bench. So now we are getting into the realm of the last 2 minutes, timestamps, when they want to score. USA have used one of their timeouts. Japan haven't used any of theirs yet, so it could be that Japan try to manage the clock, run it down, use a timeout, and keep the ball out of USA's hands. We're not quite yet there.
Still, both teams pretty rich with timeouts at this stage. To have all but one in the game is pretty unusual at this period. Yesterday, Japan almost had too many, and they got a bit muddled when they were trying to manipulate the clock and score late in the game, and got themselves into a bit of bother. But Ike keeps it dead simple on that occasion. Trusts his skills, his agility, his pace. He said ahead of this that he may not be quite as athletic, or his fitness might not be quite up there like it was in Tokyo, but he still feels he's at the peak of his powers in terms of experience, his ability to bring the best out of those around him. And he is leading from the front in his performances. Timeout called because Simons can't get across the center line within 12.
The problem there for USA was that Aoki had the inbound. He inbounded it and immediately got blocked. He was stuck more or less in the key, and he's their main outlet. They got the ball to Simons, who's very tall, but Aoki was still far too far back. There wasn't quite enough push from the 2.0 player Simons. They hadn't got the acceleration, and it meant that Aoki was the one who ended up taking the timeout. You can take a timeout if the ball's in one of your teammates' hands. It doesn't have to be you, but he took the timeout there because he was far too far back, having taken the inbound.
They've done a good job of keeping Aoki quiet in this second period, and it's raised the burden of expectation on the others. So much so, the USA reinstate their initial starting four: Butler, Adam, Wheeler, Aoki. But it doesn't prove profitable. In fact, it is fruitious for Japan. Hashimoto with the steal and the go-ahead score.
There's nothing worse than using a timeout and having your pocket picked. It wasn't even as if the timeout led to an attack where you didn't score and you still used up 40 seconds. That one was an immediate turnover. So 50 seconds on the clock. Japan now can try to keep possession for 39 of the 40 seconds of the shot clock, take a timeout, score, and take the lead into the second half. They got over the halfway line, need to stay over the halfway lines. They try to push Ike back. It's in the hands of the fastest player, but he's trying to take his time.
There's a confidence with which Japan is zipping the ball around now, although Hashimoto is in a claustrophobic zone. He's now on the court and Ike calls for a timeout. And that should, if they can manage this attack in a timely fashion, should mean that they get the all-important last try.
They've got 14.2 seconds in which to score. No changes made. It was a timeout, so you can almost bring on the equivalent of a penalty kill, as you do in ice hockey. So the clock starts ticking. Can Japan get the final score?
Ike steams in and leaves room for Hashimoto down the right. He slams down the anchors, looks at the clock, he glances. Now Wheeler can go long. Wheeler does go long. Aoki pats it on to Adam. It was almost mercurial. Chuck almost had his wand out there, but Adam couldn't quite reach it. Japan failing to learn the lesson of what the USA did to them in the group, but on this occasion, just inches away, and the Japanese's blushes are spared. And they do take the lead into the half-time. Half-time in this riveting gold medal match of the Champ de Mars at Paris 2024. Japan edging the United States of America 24-23.
Great effort there by USA. They had 1.9 seconds on the clock. Obviously, all the Japanese players had come forward trying to get the final score, so they were all forward. Aoki and Adam went flying up the other end of the court as soon as they knew that Hashimoto was going to score. The clock only starts after the inbound is touched by another player or a chair. So they let it bounce a couple of times, and then Aoki trying to tap it onward to Adam. It was almost a miracle play, but didn't quite come off.
Here is an opportunity to relive that opening half of wheelchair rugby where both Japan and the USA are vying for gold, and some of the greats of the game on court. The likes of Ikazaki, Josh Wheeler, the grimmest determination on the face to make it to the try line, and an emerging star in Sarah Adam upending the Japanese legend. And riding out that hit from Ike is one where USA were on top in the first period, but Japan have really come to the fore in the second quarter.
It was a half of two halves. The first quarter, USA ended up with a 3-point lead, and then a 4-point swing in the second quarter. Japan coming out and pressing them right from the off in the second quarter. A 4-point swing. Not particularly reflected because the steals, the turnovers tend to balance one another out at this high level. Japan with a better clock management at the end, and they go into the second half with the slimmest of leads.
messieurs, à l'occasion de cette mi-temps ici, 24-23 en faveur du Japon, on va faire un truc vraiment génial. Est-ce que vous pouvez lever les mains avec vos bracelets lumineux? Put your hand in the air with your bracelet. Yes, ok, c'est très bien, c'est très bien, c'est très bien. On va faire un jeu, on va faire un jeu. Dans quelques instants, la musique, elle va vous demander de lever vos bras en l'air. Plutôt, ça va faire lights up, lights down, et ça suffit. On va le faire ensemble, d'accord? Tous et tous ensemble, vous êtes prêts? Are you ready? Let's go, DJ! On commence en bas, on commence en bas, on commence en bas. On commence en bas. Are you ready? Vous la demandez, est-ce que vous êtes prêts? I said, are you ready? Are you ready? On commence en bas. Lights up, lights down. Okay. Lights up, lights down. Lights up, lights down. Lights up, lights down. Faster. Down, up, 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 down. Wave your hands in the air. Bravo, mesdames et messieurs, merci à toutes et à tous.
Allez, l'Arena Champ-de-Mars, c'est lundi soir. On se met en mode romantique. On revisite les classiques. Vous avez les paroles sur l'écran géant. Et sur le refrain, je veux que vous fassiez tout péter. Attention à vous. Allez, c'est pas mal. Pour la dernière fois, je vais monter sur ma chaise et tous ensemble, on va balancer les bras de droite à gauche en rythme. L'Arena Champ-de-Mars, c'est le dernier karaoké de cette compétition de rugby fauteuil. Si vous avez envie de vous lever avec moi, de bouger les bras, c'est maintenant. Attention sur le refrain, je veux tous vous entendre. À vous. Ça c'est ok. Ok, je vous rappelle qu'on est dans Paris, la ville de l'amour, mesdames et messieurs. Allez, tous les bras, tous les bras, tous les bras. Attention, l'Arena Champ-de-Mars encore plus fort.
Paris, the French capital and also the capital of wheelchair rugby vibes and karaoke, which has coursed through the stadiums and arenas of Paris 2024. It has been a truly magical experience, these 5 days of the Champ de Mars. And the vocal cords probably only matched by the outfits and the colour that the supporters have brought to the arena. USA and Japan both represented in equally vociferous fashion. Gold medal match at Paris 2024 in the wheelchair rugby. Japan leading the United States 24-23. The second half is underway with USA inbounding from Butler to Adam and looking to get the equalising try. Chuck Aoki is into the paint and he's into the tries.
USA going back to the well, going with their starting lineup, so they've got 3, 2-5, 2-5 and 0.5 out there. And then Japan changing things around a little bit because they've got such strength in depth. So they've got Ike and Daisuke out there. And then they've got the 1.5 in Norimatsu.
Ikazaki struggling to find a way through. Hasegawa Yuki is out there as well. In fact, there's no way down the right flank, and the shot clock against Japan, and it's a scrabble for the ball, and irrespective, it's going to be a turnover. USA didn't claim the possession, but the shot clock timed out, and that's why USA get the early breakthrough here in the third.
Sarah Adam steps up there. So they get the turnover and they make a corner inbound look easy, and then a couple of three-pointers, have a wheel race. Aoki wins it, and, well, we came out 58 seconds ago. Japan were in the lead. They had the possession. They'd stolen the initiative from USA, and it's just been wrested right back.
Do you know what? USA really needed that, didn't they? Because they weren't even second best, they were third best in that second period.
The entire second quarter, it was all Japan.
And they come out firing. It's amazing the impact that a halftime break can do, not just to the decibel levels in the arena, but also to the way the players go about their business. Japan looking so assured beforehand. Don't get me wrong, they're still 25 apiece, so it's not like they're trailing. But certainly the dream start for the United States.
It's always tempting to look ahead, so you say that USA, well, there we go, don't look ahead. There you go, look at the ball. Look at the ball is what you've got to do.
When was the last time you saw Chuck Aoki do that?
And we're going to see it again. How did he not get his hands on that one?
We've been talking about the classifications a fair bit and talking about the points on the court, and you can just see there at the bottom of Chuck's chair, and you can see the back of Hashimoto there, 3.5, just to clarify that the functionality of the athlete is denoted by the points classification that is given to them. The higher the points, the more functional you are, and that's why you see the more mobile players like Hashimoto with a 3.5 score, which is the absolute maximum you can get.
That's right, and you're allowed 8 on court at any one time, unless you've got a female player, and then you're allowed an extra 0.5 for every female player, and there is a perfect illustration.
But can we just say that Sarah Adam alone, irrespective of gender, is an absolute cheat code out there.
She's 2.5, she's classified 2.5, she's worth 2.7 on her own, and then she allows an extra 0.5 points.
Hashimoto cruises home. Japan have got this lead back after that fumble from Aoki. And Wheeler with the inbound, goes to Adam, and they set off. Really strong work by Norimatsu, the 34-year-old who plays for Hurricanes in Okinawa, is really putting himself about, and Chuck Aoki may have been forced off the court there, or was a timeout called?
I think he called a timeout.
There's so much action happening minute to minute. The turnover against Japan, then Chuck fumbles, and then forced into a timeout as he looks to be leaving the court, not of his own volition.
It was very good defense from the Japanese 4 out there, because it looked as if Adam was going to be able to get over the line, and the blocking wasn't quite there from the USA team. and it meant that Adam had to turn around. Aoki was firing into the key. He couldn't stop in time before going over the touchline and ended up having to call a timeout. So the USA are down to 1 timeout left. The good thing about taking that timeout is it means that they've reset. They've had a chat with Coach Delagrave and hopefully calm things down a little bit. (27-all). Japan with the possession arrow that you can see there, so they will get the possession at the start of the 4th quarter unless there's a held ball between now and then. It really is going to come down to who can get the final try at the end of the 3rd and the end of the 4th quarters. But of course, there are going to be more turnovers to come, aren't there?
We're quite tight, aren't we? Quite tight, and there's a few turnovers going each way. We'll not talk about overtime just yet, will we? Although the arena would probably appreciate it. The place was jumping in the semi-final that took Japan here
in overtime
on day 4. Hashimoto spins around, finds his captain, and it's really composed stuff. He gets the acknowledgement of his captain as well. It's a huge match for Hashimoto, an enormous level of responsibility being put on the shoulders of the 22-year-old. And he's out there as well playing with some of his heroes who he's grown up loving the game, the likes of Ike and Ikazaki. And there's big booms going round, sparks flying off the chairs now.
Great blocking by Josh Wheeler there. Those of you watching for the first time, because it's the Paralympic gold medal match, the final, maybe your eyes are drawn more to the high pointers, the likes of Hashimoto here, who've got all the wheels, but it's always good to watch the low pointers, see the blocking work that they do, the work that's done off the ball and out of possession.
Awesome effort from Wheeler there to keep pace with Hashimoto. He wasn't too far away, and due to the engineering of his chair, it's not as easy for him to halt a player like Hashimoto, like the other players out there who've got the additional bit of metal at the front known as a pick bar. It's lifted really nicely. The timing exquisite from Wheeler, and into the arms of Aoki, who've got a bit of rhythmic scoring into their system as well. They needed it after those 2 moments that didn't go their way. Ike rides his way out of the challenge and spins back, and well, he's got Wheeler and Aoki for company, and it may... Wow, look at that. Look at the strength. Look at the awareness to find Hashimoto.
Norimatsu takes out Adam, and that means that Hashimoto can get through. Number 22, the bald head of Norimatsu. Keep an eye on him, the blocking work he's doing. That's why Japan are in the lead at the moment. Well, we're in an indoor stadium, a purpose-built stadium that is air-conditioned, but the sweat that is dripping off these players, Chuck Aoki in particular, they're leaving it all out there. "15 seconds to go on the shot clock. How patient will USA be here?
Not patient enough is the answer. Ike gets another limb. He doesn't manage to gather the ball, but because he didn't take a quality possession, even though it's a USA inbound, there's only 7 seconds left on the shot clock. It doesn't get reset. Simons has a bit of pressure on him here, and he hasn't got enough time either. USA, by my calculations, have no more player timeouts left, and they are a long way from the end of this match.
Simons was brought on there to give Sarah Adam a spell, saying dripping with sweat. We see Bo Vernon there. Bo Vernon's there. He's a bronze medalist from earlier in the day, and arguably best in class at 0.5. And well,
Ike Yukinobu is everywhere at the moment. He is kryptonite to the USA's designs of breaching the Japanese key.
So they've taken a timeout which reset the shot clock to 15. 10 of those seconds have gone. They're down to 5 seconds. No more timeouts that can be used. A coach's timeout has been used by Joe Delagrave. Resetting themselves again. Eric Newby's out there, which, to be honest, I think is a better option than Mason Simons, but is Simons going to be out there as well?
We're just seeing the impact of Ike, who we touched upon the heartbreak that he felt in the wake of not making it to the final in Tokyo. Destiny is a word that he bandied about in terms of him and the team's feeling. They have well and truly dusted themselves down, and they have come to Paris laser focused on this gold medal.
Simons, the coach's timeout resets it to 15.
No try. Newby swept across the back line before Chuck Aoki could transfer the ball. Let's take a look at his wheels.
Ike pushed Norimatsu into Newby and got him over the line.
USA are in the trenches here, there's no doubt about it. Japan scoring at will, and with the 2-try advantage and 3 of their 4-player timeouts intact as well. USA having to dig deep. Chuck Aoki, so often the man to drag them out of the mire, and he does so on this occasion. Ships it to Newby. Finally, at long last, the try comes easy for the States.
You wonder why Chuck Melton's not out there either. They've gone through almost all of their mid-pointers, and Melton hasn't come out yet.
Ike is playing with a real zest, isn't he? There's a joy and a lightness to which he's manoeuvring himself around the court and dictating play in an offensive terms.
He's incredibly calm as well. The ball will be tossed up to him. He'll take it one-handed, cruise over the line. Nothing can faze him at the moment.
It's what you want from your captain, isn't it? Inspiring those around him, instilling them with confidence. Simons has to go the long way round, and when you go that way round, usually Norimatsu's waiting. Ball lifted into space, and Fredette's got his work cut out. Oh, that is unreal! Was he in command when he went across the line? The answer is no.
He had to throw that forward, Simons. 28 seconds on the shot clock. It was desperation stuff, and they got no timeouts. He got half control with the wheel. It wasn't full control in his hand there.
And he also took out the post as well. There was a lot going on there. I mean, if he'd held on to that up against the wheel whilst tipping over, that would have been one of the moments of the game so far.
Norimatsu with a corner inbound, and Ike reaches tall, sits tall in the chair, and it's all looking so easy for Japan at the moment.
The men in white, the men and women in whites, are turnover by turnover, try by try, taking this final away from the US. May think that we're speaking a little prematurely, but a 3-try lead and the USA having no timeouts is hugely significant.
USA with 3 points up early on, so it can be turned around, but the lack of timeouts is going to work against them, I think.
Goodness me, if Aoki hadn't got that away, Hashimoto had bounced him back across the center line. They're having to work extremely hard to break down this Japanese defense. Aoki, no way through for him, but there sure is for Eric Newby. The St. Louis man rams his way home.
The disadvantage of USA having such a well-balanced lineup with Chuck Aoki and then 2.5 and 2 pointers there is that they really need a 3.5 pointer that you can just give the ball to, and he will go coast to coast in a matter of seconds. And that's the outlet that they've got, Japan have got in Hashimoto. They do have Zion Reddington, but he's a youngster. They don't really trust him, not on the big stage here, and the ball's going to go loose as well. Aoki will pick it up.
The hits that Ike's planting on Aoki are so good because they're sticking as well. Aoki has to wheel his way back.
You don't have to have a 3.5 pointer out there all the time. You don't have to go high-low like Australia, Team GB, but if you've got that option, one you can trust, and that's what they've got, that's what Japan have got. They can start with 3 pointers. They've got 3 excellent 3 pointers in there, but they can bring on a 3.5 pointer they totally trust, and that's such an outlet for them.
Norimatsu was forced across the back line, so well, no penalty try, in fact. He's going to go to the penalty box, so USA are going to have to do it themselves. Butler is here for the inbound.
The advantage of that as well is that it makes it a dead ball as opposed to a try, and it means that substitutes can come on. Sarah Adam is back on. If anyone can swing this match back in USA's favour, it's her. So, no pressure, Sarah. 1 minute and 3 seconds to go. There haven't been many boards going up there. It's merely a case of score as many as you can for USA. And then Japan, well, they're just going to keep on keeping on. Japan with timeouts in their pockets, so they're no doubt going to use one of them here. They might even use 2. First timeout coming up.
And it's taken right down to the wire. Japan were in a similar position at the end of the third period in the semi-final, where they used 2 timeouts and they got themselves...
And that lady knows it.
Well, I think she was here to see it. She's hoping that history isn't going to repeat itself, and that's the strength of Ike Yukinobu, that he can just put that arm out and beat anyone aerially.
Now, have we had a reaching foul? We have indeed.
Well, that's going to work out really well for Japan, because Josh Wheeler's going to go off court and the shot clock's going to be reset to 15. This gentleman here went through the ringer yesterday emotionally.
He's going to be a lot calmer now.
Wow, he's now the one who is revving up the Japanese support. Not to say that the team aren't doing enough revving themselves. Japan race back into position in the backcourt. Hail Mary, big shot comes in on Wheeler, Norimatsu ducks, and that is another outstanding period for Japan, who are in pole position in this gold medal match. Hashimoto roars. The fans roar, and it is Japan who've roared into a 3-try lead with 1 period to go. Japan 35, the United States of America 32 in the gold medal match.
When you look at how this match was poised after the first period, USA came out of the blocks absolutely flying. They were 3 points to the good. Japan, methodical. You can look at the fouls there that USA have had to come out with, 5 turnovers. That's the big statistic there. That's why they are 3 points adrift. It's merely been Japan sticking to their own game plan, changing it when necessary. 3 pointers, 3.5 pointers coming on. They never got flustered. 3 points, 3-point swing, a 4-point swing in the second quarter, and another 2-point swing in the third quarter. They are just pulling away.
The pressure of a gold medal match does funny things to players of all ages and experience, and we see there Aoki having the fumble that kind of reignited things for Japan in the third period, because USA had started really well. They pegged back the Japanese, who were utterly dominant in the second, but that almost instigated another uplift in form from the Japanese, and they haven't looked back. They've been outstanding.
Japan were one clear at the start of the third quarter. USA got an immediate turnover, and you thought, right, that's it, game on, we're back level. And before the end of the sentence, the turnover wasn't converted. It was turned into another turnover. Japan got the ball back, and from that point onwards, absolutely methodical, going out there, scoring points, and USA have been looking desperate.
That pretty much sums up how we all feel about wheelchair rugby in the Champ de Mars, doesn't it, Drew? An incredible 5 days of competition is crescendoing to a golden climax here. Will it be Japan? Will it be the United States of America? Currently, Japan are favourites. They lead 35-32.
Well, there's barely an empty seat in the house here. It's been incredibly well attended across the 5 days, as have all events at the Paralympics. Paris has done the Paralympics proud.
Japan are about to extend their lead to 4 tries. USA need to force turnovers. They need steals. They need to chance their arm here. And they need to unsettle Japan. It has been a picture of serenity on court for the Japanese. Adam loses the ball, airbound, and then, even more critically, loses the ball full stop.
She had to get the ball forward. She had to get the ball over the halfway line. Butler hasn't got the ability, the trunk function to get that ball, to get forward, to get over the halfway line. So it was a pass that was in between 2 players really there. Half a dozen turnovers. You can't do that in a gold medal match. It's as simple as that. It's almost been a training session in practicing corner inbounds, because there have been 6 turnovers. All of these corner inbounds for Japan, a training session for them, and they've passed it with flying colours.
Once again, the speed of Hashimoto, the arrival of Ike, dictates that the Dandelions and all those with Japanese flags on them are cheering. It's been a brilliant display so far. Japan lead by 5 with that additional turnover. And Wheeler's got a few problems with his chair again, does he? No, the mechanic is ushered away, gets a fist pump from his opposite on the Japanese.
I think referee Liam Costello said, no, your wheel's fine here, so let's get on with things. Sarah Adam keen to get on with things.
Yeah, she makes light work of it, Sarah Adam, who, let's not forget, is a pioneer out there, being the first female player to represent USA at a Paralympics in wheelchair rugby. But that's kind of the equation now, that USA need to score quick and they need to force turnovers. They can't hang around. And a reaching foul isn't going to help, because Adam will be dispatched to the penalty box, and this will allow Japan a lot of time to score this next try. They will look to use pretty much every 10th of a second of the 40.
5 points adrift with 7 minutes to go, and you've got no timeouts. So you've got to start taking risks. Try to get the ball loose, try to force a turnover, and you always run the risk of committing a reaching foul. Lee Fredette and Josh O'Neill have come on. That was the one advantage, I suppose, of committing the foul and Adam going to the penalty box. Means they can make some changes. Kurahashi is coming to block Adam, make sure she can't leave the penalty box without putting a hand up to say that she will inbound.
This is agonising for USA and their fans who are watching, because they can't really do anything about Japan taking all of this time to score as well. So frustrating. How can they affect this final period? Fredette to Adam. She bullies her way forward. Aoki lays claim, and off he'll race. Fast as he can. High press coming from the United States, I'm sure.
At the moment, USA are playing under classification. They're playing under points. They're only playing 8, whereas they can have 8.5 out there with Sarah Adam. They're playing 3, 2, 5, 1, 5, 1. And you've really got to ask yourself, where is Chuck Melton? He's obviously not able to participate in this match. Otherwise, we would have seen him before. We'd have seen him now. If they're going to play under strength, then there is something wrong.
Another try for Rike. The linchpin of this Japanese side. There's been a lot more rotation throughout the competition between him, Hashimoto, and Ikazaki, but he has put his arm up in the only way that Ike knows to say, I am the main man. I'm the main man in this final, and I'm going to decide if and how we win this gold.
We've just seen Ikazaki on the screen. We've seen very little of him on the court today. They haven't really needed him. That's the sheer strength and depth that they've got, and they're running with this lineup at the moment, having Hashimoto out there, Kurahashi, the low pointer, who gives them an extra 0.5 points out there. More changes for USA. Adam's gone off. Wheeler, Fredette, and O'Neill out there with Aoki. Incredible pass between the three-pointer and the 3.5-pointer. The passes that Ike can come out with, sitting so high in the chair.
It's super slick, isn't it? It's been so precise. It's been so error-free from Japan.
And that was like a long soccer throw-in from Ike, and it was absolutely perfect. Nervous times, looking for the inbound. He's going to have to inbound. He's only got 10 seconds in which to do it, and no timeouts.
Gets around Kurahashi. Wheeler goes long. Says to O'Neill, get after this, but he doesn't have the pace. And right here, right now, I just can't see a manner in which the USA can overcome Japan.
Coach Delgrave is out of options. It's yet another turnover, yet another corner inbound, and Norimatsu will be saying, how many of these corner inbounds have I got to take before you realise that I'm one of the best in the game at doing it? And even if I weren't, all I have to do is throw one up there for Ike, and he will pluck it out of the ether.
Ike Yukinobu, try number 14 in this final. Head coach of the Freedom Wheelchair Rugby Club. Well, he may just get the freedom of Kochi in the wake of this performance in what is looking increasingly like a gold medal winning display.
He's 44 years old. He made his debut 11 years ago. He made his debut in 2013. He became captain in 2014. He was obviously the kind of player that they thought we can build a side around. Wheelchair basketball player as well, and a gold medalist at that. And you have to say that he's 4 minutes and 40 seconds away from adding to that tally.
It's incredible to hear how they've harnessed the hurt of Tokyo in achieving the final here. I mean, that's history in itself for Japan. But then now to put this performance together as well. They use the word disbelief. They just couldn't believe, they couldn't get to grips with how they hadn't made the final in Tokyo. But it has emboldened them. And they managed to sharpen their minds and grow throughout the cycle. And here they are, currently putting on a masterclass against the US, leading their North American rivals, their great rivals, by 5 tries, soon to be 6.
Well, we were asking what USA could do, and they were out of options, so they've gone back to the well. They've gone back to their starting lineup, the 3-2-5-2-5.5. Sarah Adam, Josh Wheeler back out there. It really is a last throw of the dice for them.
Josh Wheeler, what can he muster? He looks for Adam, and he doesn't find her. Errors being compounded for the USA. They've completely lost their rhythm here. And what was telepathic between the 4 players on court for them throughout the competition, something that seemed to be getting sharper and sharper. They sadly evading them here on the biggest match.
Peaked in the semi-final and carried it over for 1 quarter. And you thought, this is it, they've peaked at the right time. Maybe it was ever so slightly too early. Japan, the way that they have raised their game today, absolutely incredible.
A demolition attempt from Mike Yukinobu. Is ridden out by the US. Aoki has been kept remarkably quiet. And Norimatsu with another monster moment that sees Japanese flags fluttering in the stands and another turnover forced. Butler shunted when he didn't have the ball fully under control.
Always going to be tough for a low pointer to try to control that. It would have had to have landed perfectly in his lap, but things just aren't landing perfectly for USA, and they haven't for the past half an hour.
The Tohoku Stormer Hashimoto has had just that, a stormer in the final. His father, Shinya, his inspiration, one of his heroes. I wonder how proud will he be to see his 22-year-old son put in such a consummate performance against some of the greats of the game. The Aokis, the Wheelers, and Kishi Kotaro as well, who has taken this Japanese team to another level over the past few years since Tokyo.
That play there from USA, that was the kind of play they were coming out with in the first quarter, but it all went awry. They lost their rhythm. They were knocked out of their rhythm by this Japan team. Norimatsu just cruises onto the end of that one.
The dandelion. The dandelion himself. Well, his performance has blossomed in the final. I think you'll agree, Drew. Norimatsu's been a key cog. And I think Joe Delagrave's face says it all. Staring at another silver. As a player in Tokyo, and it will be so here in Paris as a coach.
The good thing for Japan, who are so disappointed and, as you said, in disbelief after Tokyo, was that we've had a short Olympic and a short Paralympic cycle. We had a longer one before Tokyo 2020 being played in 2021, so we've just had 3 years to come here, and only 3 years really for Japan to have to lick their wounds, and they've certainly peaked at the right time. So many ups and downs. You had Australia winning the World Championships in 2022, and then Japan beginning to dominate around 2023. And then the warm-up tournament for this, the Canada Cup, where they defeated everybody, the rest of the top 6 nations. They defeated all 5 of the others in the round robin, and then Australia again in the final. And they've certainly peaked at the right time. Eric Newby back on for USA.
Likely to be his last Paralympics. He's got an eye on coaching Eric Newby.
There's a great club competition in USA, and he can certainly cut his teeth there.
I think that man deserves a bit of a lie down, doesn't he?
He's earned it. And Japan, their main 4. Ooh, certainly, yes. Be careful
fall.
of the head with the fall, but these guys know how to fall. Plenty of practice. Japan not going through the bench at the moment. They're keeping more or less their starters out there, and certainly is.
I'd love to see Shimakawa. Shimakawa Shin, who's given an incredible amount, turns 50 in January, his 6th Paralympics. And a man who's inspired many of the current crop to achieve the heights that they have.
Clayton Brackett is out for USA, and he gets himself a try in a Paralympic gold medal match. You've got a feel for Chuck Aoki at the moment. Nothing more that he can do. He's given it his all. And he must be looking at Hashimoto and thinking, that kid's in his early 20s. He's going to play for another 20 years, if not more. What the heck are we going to do to combat him? Into the final minutes.
The Champ de Mars arena rises in acknowledgement of both sets of players. It's another score for USA, but it'll all be in consolation. Well, a bit of a tyre change, and Joe Delagrave. Disappointment writ large across his face, and conversely for the Japanese fans, there are tears of joy in the stands. With potentially the final possession of Paris 2024. Hashimoto, a rising star, who with his performance across the competition has written his name into legend. Timeouts to work with as well for Japan, should they wish to use them. Ike loses the ball and goes wildly off court. 6.9 seconds remaining. Norimatsu with the final inbound of Paris 2024. Ike Wraps up the ball.
It's a turnover. It's at the very end with 3.7 seconds to go.
A held ball.
It's a held ball, isn't it? Yes. So they should have used one of those timeouts.
USA inbound. They're intercepted, and Hashimoto launches the ball into the skies of the Champ de Mars Arena, and fittingly so. It has been a performance out of this world. From the Japanese, it is agony for Aoki and the USA. And it is jubilation for Japan. They are the Paris 2024 wheelchair rugby gold medalists. Incredible scenes here as Japan claim gold for the first time in their history. Final score here at the Champ de Mars: Japan 48, the United States of America 41.
Emotional scenes on the court and off the court. So many fans who've travelled halfway across the world, from the west, from the east. It's been a long time coming for Japan. They think it should have come 3 years ago, but it's come now, and they are on top of the world. And they fully deserve that gold medal. They showed it today. Consummate performance in the final. Never looked flustered. A 7-point margin over one of the best teams in the world.
The torment of Tokyo set aside to the past, and a golden evening, a golden era potentially beckoning for Japan. And spare a thought for the USA, who really did think that this was their Paralympics. They came here determined to end the 16-year wait for a gold medal. It's another silver for Chuck Aoki. Let's not diminish the achievement that is in itself. But they wanted more. They were desperate for more.
Wonderful scenes there between the two sets of teams. They obviously know one another incredibly well, come up against one another on the biggest of stages, some of them for decades. The respect within the wheelchair rugby family is enormous. Gracious in defeat, magnanimous in victory.
Pictures that say 1,000 words. The two brutal sides of sport. The desolation of the United States, silver medalists. Disconsolate tears on one side, but ones of sheer joy for Kishi Kotaro and his Japanese history makers. What a difference 3 years made. They were on the court, still in tears, an hour after falling to Great Britain in the semi-final in their home games in Tokyo. And now the tears are history-making ones as Japan claim gold at Paris 2024.
Tough scenes for USA, coming so close once again and knowing that you're going to have to wait another 4 years, but 4 years for them, it's going to be on home soil. The pressure's on them now. 4 years' time, they will be in LA for the Paralympics. 4 long years to think about this moment, to build on it and to do exactly what Japan have just done.
4 long years for that guy to get better, though.
He'll be in his mid-20s.
Hashimoto.
He won't have peaked by then.
Katsuya, 22 years old, second Paralympics, a bronze in Tokyo, now a gold in Paris. He said, ahead of the games, I feel like I can't live without the sport. Well, I feel that the sport is going to be living with him for many years, potentially decades to come. And let's hope that Chuck Aoki, well, I'm certain that Chuck Aoki will be back. And he'll have his eyes on gold again.
He will. He'll remember these scenes. He'll remember the tears that he's shedding now, the sweat that dripped off him for an hour here for 32 minutes of the match. And he'll channel that and take it with him over the next 4 years on the journey to Los Angeles. But at the moment, it's all about Japan. It's all about the winners. They've earned it, been peaking over the past year. They've learned how to beat the best teams. They've seemed to have Australia's number, even if it did take them overtime and more to get there yesterday. But what a performance from them today. Behind after the first quarter, but never looked flustered. Absolutely stuck to the game plan.
Mesdames et messieurs, la cérémonie des vainqueurs du rugby fauteuil.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for wheelchair rugby.
And now for the victory ceremony for the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. The Champ de Mars rise to their feet and they begin to raise the decibels as they have throughout the duration of the programme here in the heart of France's capital city. Silver medalists, the United States of America, led by Chuck Aoki, and the victors of a thrilling final, wreathed in red. Japan, for the first time. Kurahashi Kai receiving a helping hand there to advance towards the zenith of the sport. And last but by certainly no means least, the Australian Steelers, the bronze medalists of a fiercely contested competition that has thrilled every single soul who's entered this wonderful arena over the last 5 days. incredible moment for these men here and their women.
Membre du conseil d'administration du comité international paralympique.
Governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee. Ms. Muffy Davis.
Membre du conseil d'administration du comité international paralympique.
Governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee. Ms. Robin Smith, OAM.
Membre du conseil d'administration du comité international paralympique.
Governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee.
Accompagné par
Accompanied by Mr. Richard Allcroft, OBE.
président de World Wheelchair Rugby.
Miss Miki Matheson, IPC governing board member.
Mr. Juan Pablo Salazar.
Ancien membre du conseil d'administration du comité international paralympique.
Former governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee.
Miss Muffy Davis, another governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee. Miss Robin Smith, OAM, another member of the ceremony party.
Médaille de bronze représentant l'Australie.
Bronze medalist representing Australia.
The bronze medal winners of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. A megawatt smile from some of the Steeler greats, Captain Chris Bond, and the shot before, the retiring Riley Batts. They've been perennial podium placers over the many years since the sport's official introduction in 2000 in Sydney. They were deposed last year in Tokyo, but they once again returned from the Games with a medal.
Riley Batts.
Riley Batt, the final time we will see the great man out on the court at a Paralympic Games. He signalled that he will be retiring after this one, having made his debut as a 15-year-old in Sydney. There's James McQuillan on Paralympic debut. 5 debutants in all, in a rejuvenated Steelers look. And so too Bo Vernon, his first major tournament, full stop. And Shay Graham, a pioneer for women in the sport and one of 3 amongst the Steelers ranks. Braden Foxley Connolly, 20 years old, a name for the future, but a bronze medalist now. And lastly, Josh Nicholson, another on debut and another worthy bronze medalist. The customary quality check with the teeth to make sure that it's the real deal. And that is Sir Bill Beaumont, who is the top man of World Rugby, handing out the paraphrasias, the mascot of the Paralympic Games, based on the Frisian cap that signifies freedom and unity.
Bill, the former England captain at Rugby Union, shaking hands with all the Aussies there, so putting the rivalries to one side for a moment.
the bronze medalist of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024, Australia.
Silver medalist representing the United States of America.
The warmest of receptions for Chuck Aoki and his team. He and Eric Newby, co-captains. And once again, silver medalists at the Paralympic Games. It continues an extraordinary run that has seen the United States take to the podium in every Paralympic Games since wheelchair rugby joined the sporting family, even the test event in Atlanta in 1996. And while they came here with golden designs, and they will be hurting in the wake of silver, they will look back on this with great pride, and particularly Sarah Adam, who's just raised the roof there. Not just a Paralympic debut, but the first female wheelchair rugby player to represent the USA at a Paralympic Games.
After every big wheelchair rugby tournament, you have best in class voted. So for all of the various classifications from 0.5 through to 3.5, and if she doesn't get 2.5, then I will be very, very surprised. For me, she was absolutely best in class. Always difficult when you've just lost the final. You can see the disappointment etched on the faces of the USA team. Australia won their bronze medal match earlier in the day. They're all smiles. And even though USA are one above them on the podium, they're currently thinking about what might have been less than an hour ago.
What may be to come, though, from the United States of America. 7 of their athletes making their Paralympic bows here in Paris, and a home games to look forward to, a home games to fuel the fires once again of those golden ambitions. 18 years old, Zion Reddington, already a Paralympic silver medalist, and so much more to come from him and Mason Simons and everyone else who has the Star-Spangled Banner on their crest. The emotions must be incredibly raw for Josh Wheeler and co, as they get another unique memento to take back across the pond. Their mascot to accompany their silver medal. 3 silvers and a bronze for Chuck Aoki across his esteemed career now.
We give him the LA 2028 gold medal now. I think he's earned it, hasn't he? He's deserved it. They are going to have to earn it, though, over the next 4 years. They've definitely got something to work towards. And as you say, so many youngsters coming through. 4 years in which to hone their craft on the club stage and internationally as well.
And what will her long-term impact be? Sarah Adam, breaking new ground for women in the sport in the USA. Who will follow?
They've already had Liz Dunn in their squad for the World Cup. A couple of years ago, she didn't make the cut this time around, but she'll be there or thereabouts come Los Angeles, you would have thought, and maybe many more.
It's a tough one to take for the USA. He really did have the loftiest of ambitions, and they roared into the final And they rolled out of the traps in the first period, but it wasn't to be. They can still be immensely proud of leaving with silver from what is universally acknowledged as the most competitive Paralympic Games in the history of the sport.
Japan have been waiting patiently, and they've been waiting for many, many years. And now their moment comes.
The United States of America, silver medalists in the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. But now for the champions to be crowned. In the 7th arrondissement of Paris, known for its nobility and aristocracy, we now have new kings and queens of the sport of wheelchair rugby. 20 years ago, Japan made their maiden bow in the sports in Athens. It has been a 2-decade journey from an 8th place finish back in the spiritual home of the Olympic and Paralympic movement. And now, after successive bronzes, they now are gold medalists. Ikazaki Daisuke, 46 years old, his 3rd Paralympics. He's been there for the 2 bronzes previously. Whereas for Kasaba Ryuji, the only debutant in the group, fittingly sat next to one of the great legends, Shimakawa Shinichi, his 6th Paralympics, the first Japanese wheelchair rugby player to ever feature. He's been in every incarnation of the games since Japan entered the competition. Nakamachi Shunya, but potentially the biggest roar reserved for this man. And the biggest hug as well. Ike Yukinobu, who was broken in the aftermath of their failure to reach the final in Tokyo. Their destiny dashed, but ultimately it's turned out to be fuel for their gilded fire. Norimatsu Seiya came next. He was outstanding in the final, and Ogawa Hitoshi played his part. Remember the name? Hashimoto Katsuya. A virtuoso performance from the 22-year-old in the match that mattered the most. We're lucky to be here in the arena, and there is a sense of history. There is a sense of calm and achievement that is exuding from the Japanese team out there. They were flawless in that final, nigh on. An extraordinary achievement for this group.
We'll look back in years to come and think, how did it take them so long? Obviously, there were going to win. They were destined to. They had such a squad, such strength in depth, such skill. They've got every position absolutely covered. They've got a female player in there so they can play 8.5. The options, youngsters, experience, as you see with those two sitting alongside one another with 25 years between them. We will think, how did it take them that long? They're probably thinking that right now, but
I think they're thinking it was worth the wait, I'd imagine.
Definitely.
Ike Yukinobu, the captain, he said, "I believe again in Paris. I believe we can achieve gold." And he was right. Whereas for Hashimoto, he said, "I feel like I can't live without the sport." That is the profundity of the impact of wheelchair rugby on the game's youngest, rising and brightest star. The gold medalists in the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024, Japan.
Mesdames et messieurs, si vous pouvez, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national du Japon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you are able for the anthem of Japan.
Mesdames et messieurs, les médaillés paralympiques.
The final standings of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. Gold for Australia, silver for the United States of America, and a first ever gold for Japan.
They turn around and acknowledge the hundreds, if not thousands, of fans who've made it all the way to support them. It's been a long time coming, but it has come indeed. And they're going to be relishing every second of this ceremony. They've thoroughly earned it. Perhaps one of the toughest tournaments to win. Coming into it, you had the Oceania champions, Japan, the European champions, France, the champions of the Americas in USA, the world #1, Australia, and the defending champions, Great Britain. Any one of those five could have been anywhere on the podium. The mascots that were handed out to the Japanese team were given to them by the president of World Wheelchair Rugby, Richard Allcroft, and he must have been delighted with the standard of this tournament. Right in doubt, right up to the end. Wonderful semi-finals, wonderful medal matches. It really has lived up to the billing. An incredible sport, an incredible spectacle.
It's a sport that has consistently captured the imagination of the Paralympic public, and it is quite clearly one that is going from strength to strength. But there is a new world order in Paris, and it is Japan who have perched themselves at the peak.